Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? Tomorrow you'll wake up earlier. Tomorrow you'll work harder. Tomorrow you'll become the person you know you're capable of being. But here's the truth. Tomorrow is a lie we tell ourselves to stay comfortable today. And comfort is the enemy of greatness. What if the story you've been telling yourself is completely wrong? What if I'm lazy is not your truth, but your excuse? That label has been sitting in your mind, quietly shaping your actions, lowering your expectations, and giving you permission to settle. But here's the real question. Are you truly lazy, or have you simply never been deeply connected to something that demands your full energy? Because the moment purpose becomes real, laziness disappears. Think about a time when something truly mattered to you, something urgent, something emotional, something that lit a fire inside you. Did you feel lazy then, or did you suddenly find energy you didn't even know you had? That's the shift. That's the difference. Energy is not something you lack, it's something you unlock when your why becomes powerful enough. Most people don't struggle with discipline. They struggle with clarity. They wake up without direction, move through the day without intention, and then wonder why they feel unmotivated. But how can you be driven if you don't know what you're driving toward? How can you be committed if nothing feels meaningful enough to commit to? That's where the real work begins. Not in forcing yourself to work harder, but in discovering something that makes you want to. Let me challenge you. What do you actually want? Not the surface level answers, not what others expect from you. What is the goal that excites you and scares you at the same time? The kind of goal that, if achieved, would change how you see yourself forever. Because when you find that, your mindset shifts. You stop negotiating with distractions. You stop delaying action. You start moving with intent. Here's the hook. People don't burn out because they do too much. They burn out because what they're doing doesn't mean enough. When there's no emotional connection, effort feels heavy. But when purpose is clear, effort becomes fuel. You don't need reminders. You don't need motivation videos. You become self-driven. So instead of asking, why am I so lazy? Start asking a better question. What is missing that would make me unstoppable? That question changes everything. It shifts your focus from self-judgment to self-discovery. And once you find that missing piece, that deep personal reason, you won't need to force yourself forward. You'll move because you can't afford to stay still. How many times did you promise yourself, I'll start tomorrow? Tomorrow you'll wake up earlier. Tomorrow you'll focus. Tomorrow you'll finally take control. But let's be honest. How many tomorrows have already passed you by? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Tomorrow is one of the most dangerous words in your vocabulary. It sounds harmless, even hopeful, but in reality, it quietly delays your growth and keeps you exactly where you are. Because tomorrow doesn't create change. Action does. And action only exists in one place, today, right now, in this moment. Think about it. Every successful person you admire didn't wait for the perfect time. They didn't wait until they felt ready. They moved when it was inconvenient, when it was uncomfortable, when doubt was loud. That's the difference. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not time. It's action delayed. Here's the hook. Every time you say tomorrow, you are reinforcing a habit of hesitation. You are training your mind to believe that delay is acceptable. And once that pattern sets in, it becomes your default. Opportunities come, you postpone, ideas appear, you hesitate, goals form, you delay. But what if you broke that pattern today? What if, instead of waiting for motivation, you acted in spite of how you feel? Because here's something most people don't realize. Motivation is not the starting point. It's the result. You don't wait to feel motivated before you act. You act, and that action creates momentum. That momentum builds confidence, and that confidence fuels even more action. Let me ask you something. What is one thing you've been putting off that you know would move your life forward? Not 10 things, not a long list, just one. Imagine if you took a single step toward it right now. Not perfectly, not completely, just started. That small action has more power than all the planning and waiting combined. There will never be a perfect moment. Conditions will never align exactly the way you want. There will always be reasons to delay, but there will also always be a choice to act or a choice to wait. And every time you choose action, no matter how small, you are building a new identity. Someone who moves, someone who executes, someone who refuses to stay stuck. So interrupt the cycle, catch yourself the next time you say tomorrow and replace it with something stronger now. Because the life you want is not waiting in the future. It's being created by what you do today. Take a hard look at your life for a moment. Are your results matching your potential, or are they matching your standards? Because here's a powerful truth. You don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. And every excuse you make, every shortcut you take, every time you say this is good enough, you are quietly lowering the standard of your own life. Now let's flip that. What if you decided that average is no longer acceptable? What if you drew a line and said, from this point forward, I demand more from myself? Not in a way that overwhelms you, but in a way that elevates you. Because raising your standards is not about pressure. It's about identity. It's about deciding who you are and what you stand for. Here's the hook. Excuses are nothing more than stories we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'll do it later. But if you listen closely, those same excuses show up again and again, just wearing different disguises. And every time you accept them, you reinforce a pattern. You train your mind to believe that it's okay to settle. But what happens when you stop negotiating with those excuses? What happens when I don't feel like it is no longer a valid reason? That's when everything begins to change, because the most successful individuals are not the most talented. They are the most disciplined in holding themselves to a higher standard, especially when it's inconvenient. Think about it. Anyone can perform when they feel motivated. Anyone can show up when it's easy, but your real character is revealed in the moments when you don't feel like trying. That's the moment where standards take over. That's the moment where you either rise or you repeat. Let me challenge you. What is one area of your life where you've been settling? Be honest. Is it your work ethic, your focus, your consistency? Now imagine what would happen if you raised the standard in just that one area, not dramatically, but intentionally, showing up earlier, staying focused longer, finishing what you start. Small shifts, but powerful ones. Because here's the truth. Your life changes the moment your standards change. You begin to demand more from your time, your energy, your habits. You become less tolerant of distractions, less accepting of mediocrity, and slowly your actions start aligning with a higher version of yourself. Standards are not something you announce. They're something you demonstrate in your daily choices, in your discipline, and how you respond when it gets hard. And once you raise them, there's no going back, because you've seen what you're truly capable of. Everyone talks about big goals, massive success, extraordinary results, life-changing achievements. But here's a question most people avoid. Can you win the small moments? Because greatness is never built in a single breakthrough. It's built in the quiet, unnoticed decisions you make every single day. Here's the hook. Your life is not defined by the big things you do occasionally, but by the small things you do consistently. The alarm goes off. Do you get up or do you hit snooze? You sit down to work? Do you focus or do you scroll? You face a challenge? Do you push through or do you step back? These moments seem insignificant, but they are shaping your identity in real time. Think about it. Success is not a one-time event. It's a pattern, and patterns are formed through repetition. Every small win is a signal to your brain, this is who I am. When you follow through on a commitment, no matter how minor, you strengthen that identity. You become someone who keeps promises, someone who executes, someone who moves forward regardless of mood. But here's where most people lose. They underestimate the power of those small battles. They wait for a perfect opportunity to prove themselves while ignoring the dozens of chances they get every day. They think it's just one missed workout or it's just one distraction, but those moments add up. And over time, they don't just affect your results, they define your standards. Now imagine flipping that mindset. Imagine treating every small decision as if it matters, because it does. You wake up and choose discipline. You sit down and choose focus. You feel resistance and choose action anyway. Each time you are stacking wins, not dramatic, not flashy, but powerful. Let me challenge you. What if you approach today like a series of small battles to win? Not overwhelming, not complicated, just intentional. Win the morning, win the next hour, win the next task. Keep it simple, but keep it consistent. It's about deciding who you are and what you stand for. Here's the hook. Excuses are nothing more than stories we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'll do it later. But if you listen closely, those same excuses show up again and again, just wearing different disguises. And every time you accept them, you reinforce a pattern. You train your mind to believe that it's okay to settle. But what happens when you stop negotiating with those excuses? What happens when I don't feel like it is no longer a valid reason? That's when everything begins to change. because the most successful individuals are not the most talented. They are the most disciplined in holding themselves to a higher standard, especially when it's inconvenient. Think about it. Anyone can perform when they feel motivated. Anyone can show up when it's easy. But your real character is revealed in the moments when you don't feel like trying. That's the moment where standards take over. That's the moment where you either rise or you repeat. Let me challenge you. What is one area of your life where you've been settling? Be honest. Is it your work ethic, your focus, your consistency? Now imagine what would happen if you raised the standard in just that one area. Not dramatically, but intentionally. Showing up earlier, staying focused longer, finishing what you start. Small shifts, but powerful ones. Because here's the truth. Your life changes the moment your standards change. You begin to demand more from your time, your energy, your habits. You become less tolerant of distractions, less accepting of mediocrity, and slowly your actions start aligning with a higher version of yourself. Standards are not something you announce, they're something you demonstrate in your daily choices, in your discipline, in how you respond when it gets hard. And once you raise them, there's no going back because you've seen what you're truly capable of. When you commit to winning the small battles, something shifts. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on structure. You stop chasing results and start controlling actions. And before you realize it, those small wins compound into something far greater than you ever expected. They become the foundation of a legendary life. Let's get something clear. If you're always comfortable, you're not growing. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth most people avoid. Comfort feels safe, predictable, easy, but it also keeps you exactly where you are. And if where you are isn't where you want to be, then comfort is costing you more than you realize. Here's the hook. Every level of your growth requires a new level of discomfort. You cannot step into a stronger, more capable version of yourself while holding on to the habits and mindset that keep you comfortable. It doesn't work that way. Growth demands friction. It demands effort. It demands that you stretch beyond what feels natural. Think about it. Every skill you've ever developed, every achievement you've earned came from a period of discomfort. Learning something new felt awkward. Taking a risk felt uncertain. Pushing your limits felt exhausting. But that discomfort wasn't a sign to stop. It was a signal that you were evolving. The problem is most people misinterpret discomfort. They see it as danger, as something to avoid. The moment things get difficult, they pull back, they retreat to what's familiar. And in doing so, they unknowingly limit their own potential because the very thing they're avoiding is the pathway to growth. Now imagine shifting that perspective. Instead of fearing discomfort, you start seeking it, not recklessly, but intentionally. You recognize it as a necessary part of progress. You begin to understand that feeling challenged, stretched, even uncertain at times is not a weakness. It's a requirement for transformation. Let me challenge you. Where in your life are you choosing comfort over growth? Is it avoiding difficult conversations, delaying important work, staying in routines that feel safe but unproductive? Now ask yourself, what would happen if you leaned into that discomfort instead of avoiding it? What new opportunities might open? What new strengths might you discover? Because here's the truth. Confidence is not built by staying comfortable. It's built by facing what's uncomfortable and proving to yourself that you can handle it every time you step into discomfort and come out stronger. You expand your limits. You redefine what's possible for you. There will be resistance. Your mind will try to pull you back to protect you, to keep things easy. But you have to decide, do you want easy or do you want growth? Because you rarely get both at the same time. And the people who achieve extraordinary results are the ones who consistently choose growth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's hard, even when it demands more than they feel ready to give. Take a moment and imagine your life 1 year from now. Not vaguely, but clearly, the way you think, the way you work, the results you've created, everything. Now ask yourself a powerful question. Will that version of you exist by chance or by choice? Because whether you realize it or not, your future is being built right now in the decisions you make every single day. Here's the hook. Your destiny is not a distant event. It's a daily construction project. Every action you take is a brick. Every habit you repeat is a layer. And over time, those small, consistent choices form the structure of your life. The challenge is most people don't see the impact immediately, so they underestimate the power of their daily decisions. Think about it. choosing to stay focused instead of distracted, choosing to act instead of delay, choosing discipline instead of comfort on their own.
These decisions seem minor, almost insignificant, but repeated over days, weeks, and months, they create momentum. And momentum is what separates intention from achievement. The problem is it works both ways. Just as positive decisions build progress, negative ones build stagnation. Skipping effort, delaying action, settling for less, these also compound. Not dramatically at first, but gradually. And before you realize it, you're further away from your goals than you intended to be. Not because of one big mistake, but because of a pattern of small, unnoticed choices. Now imagine flipping that pattern. Imagine becoming intentional about your decisions. Not perfect, but aware. You begin to ask yourself in each moment, is this choice moving me forward or holding me back? That simple question has the power to transform your behavior, because when you become conscious of your actions, you take control of your direction. Let me challenge you. What are the daily decisions that define your current reality? The way you start your morning, how you manage your time, how you respond to challenges. These are not random behaviors. They are patterns, and patterns create outcomes. If you want a different outcome, you must begin with different decisions. There will be moments when the right choice feels harder, when discipline feels inconvenient, when shortcuts seem tempting. That's where your future is decided. Not in the easy moments, but in the difficult ones. Because every time you choose what aligns with your goals instead of what satisfies your comfort, you are investing in the person you are becoming. Over time, something powerful happens. Those intentional decisions become habits. Those habits become your lifestyle. And that lifestyle produces results that once felt out of reach. Not because of luck, not because of talent, but because you consistently chose actions that aligned with your vision, even when it required effort, focus, and persistence. Let me challenge you. What if you approached today like a series of small battles to win? Not overwhelming, not complicated, just intentional. Win the morning, win the next hour, win the next task. Keep it simple, but keep it consistent. Because consistency is what separates those who start from those who finish. There will be moments when it feels repetitive, even boring. That's where the real growth happens. Because anyone can chase excitement, but very few can master discipline. And discipline is built in those exact moments when nothing feels urgent, yet everything still matters. When you commit to winning the small battles, something shifts. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on structure. You stop chasing results and start controlling actions. And before you realize it, those small wins compound into something far greater than you ever expected. They become the foundation of a legendary life.